Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, up there, down there, and right around the world. Welcome to the beautiful, beautiful ERA Sunday Championship. My name is Stephen Koenig, and joining me in the box, we've got Tim on the cameras, and we've got Jim on the lights and flags. He's going to be working hard today for round 3 of the ERA Sunday Championship. And this is season 16. We're off to a really, really exciting time. And now we're at Redbull Ring. We're currently taking a look at some of the shots of the circuit earlier today where the drivers were feeling a bit more comfortable. However, the weather has turned and we have got a rainstorm of note that has swept across here around Redbull, and it makes things a little bit more tricky. Now, a circuit that is going to be a rather difficult one for many of the drivers as it's insanely fast with hard braking zones. Plus, it's got a lot of places to slipstream, to move forward, to get better and utilize the drive on your competitors. However, with rainy conditions, it means that you've got to start planning out your brake markers a little bit more, because there is a river coming down from turn 1 down our main straight to our final corner on the left-hand side. It's pouring down, makes life rather tricky, especially for these cars to brake heading up the hill before they go through a very tight right-hander, charge down straight through a little kink of turn 2 before hard on the brakes for 3, which is a sharp right-hander, one of the hardest braking zones you're going to get around this circuit, as you then try and find your way back down the hill and maneuvering yourself into turn 4. Hard braking zone yet again. Right-hander, followed by it as it opens up a little bit. It's a flowing right into a flowing left that gets tighter and tighter as you go. Double apex to deal with. But that being said, all our drivers are going to be ready for this race. They're going to be excited for this race, and more than others. Let's take a look at our championship points, because that's going to be the telling tale of it as we head over to our gold and take a look. It is Redbull on 19 points ahead of Diego Matos, who's on 18 points. Now, Diego did a phenomenal drive this past race, this round 2 we had, and he's looking to try and make it work out in his favor yet again here tonight. Ulrich Diaga with 16 points. Finley Gamble also tied in points with 16, and Matt Gale with 14 points against Ronald Priggs, 14 points. As you can start to see, a little bit of a pouncing situation. 1 point separates first and second. Others are tied completely. Finn Holland on 12 points. Lewis Knight on 12 points. Christoph Rolotsky on 12 points. And Christian Fengler, after having to retire the car, got onto 8 points in total. Moving on to our platinums. It is Ryan Gell on 20 points, ahead of Issam Domingo's 18 points. He had a stellar run last time out, and he's hoping to make it work out in his favor. He's got David Bolsky on 16 points, Chris Wall on 16, Paul Scaveris sitting on 14 points, Daniel Mutsma sitting on 14 point, Milestone on 12, Simon Kussad on 10, David Roth on 10, Mon Spritzer sitting on 6. And that is our platinum. And as you can start to get the gist of it, there is no room for error this season. This is the closest we've seen drivers in the first half of the season. Christoph Peterson currently leads on 20 points, 1 point ahead of his teammate. So he managed to just usurp due to the fastest lap time last time out. So remember, you score 1 point for being the fastest. Ernest Mix sits with 19 points. Darius with 16 points. Maeth Musa on 14 points. Carl Heinz on 14 points. Stephen Milano James on 12 points. Andre Sorodio sits on 10. Sean Skitzer sits on 8. Jason Farmer on 6. And Ren Heineke, his own teammate, follows up on 6 points in the Diamond Division. With lots going on, lots of excitement, we're going to take a look at qualifying and take a look out there to the virtual grandstands. We got Tomo Mulmy going and saying hello from the Cyber Racing, and good support to the Cyber Racing drivers. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they can do, considering they're fighting for the championship in terms of teams. We'll bring that to you next time out. But it is our gold drivers currently out on the circuit. Finn Holland Diego Matos hoping to also make it work out in his favor. Lewis Knight rejoins us. Finley Gamble, Christoph Rolotsky, along with Ulrich de Jager in the BMW. Matt Gale, along with Christian Finger, a little bit further down the order. And Ronald Priggs, who is fighting for the top spots, is going to be hoping to get a little bit more momentum underneath him. Arulja sitting out there with the Ferrari, and the likes of David Young as our goal drivers looking to put a time on the board. Now, with these trickier conditions, one wheel over, you can invalidate your lap. However, Diego Matos puts himself into first place, immediately gets beaten out by Finn van Holland with a 134.227 versus Diego's 134.4. Christian Fengler going and putting in time, but it's Finley Gamble who jumps up into second place, immediately drops down as all the times are starting to come through with that 133.325. Old Ronald Priggs was able to get the benefit through the field. So Rule Jar currently sits into second place along with Finn van Holland, apologies. Finley Gamble. There we go, there's a Finn Lee and a Finn for Van Holland. And Lewis Knight, Diego Matos, Christian Fingler, Christoph Rolotsky, Matt Gale, and Ulrich de Jager have gone and completed their laps. And now the bankers are in. It's time to put the hammer down in these very, very tricky conditions. Ronald Priggs, who's currently the fastest out on circuit. Let's take a look from the helmet as he's got a real jar ahead of him in that Ferrari. You can see trying to slow the car down, battling as he rams it up through the gears. Now this is into a little bit of a long left-hander. You got to just try and feel the car out, let it come adrift to the right-hand side. Short little burst of power down the straight, and then hard onto the brakes again. Down in second gear, don't want to go too much over the curbs. A little bit of a tank slap as he catches the rear, gets flat onto the gas, pulls himself along. Now it's 2 corners to the end. It's going to be right up into 5th gear, down into 4th, down into 3rd, down into 2nd. This is usually a 3rd gear corner for drivers. And now it carries the momentum down into 2nd gear through the final. Oh, big tank slapper pushing harder and harder to make it work out. Is this going to be a banker lap for him? It's a 133.1 as he comes across the line. Real job with a 133.9. Going and trying his absolute damnedest, but he's giving a little bit of a toe to the backline bandits and will be thinking about that. Diego Matos and Christian Fingler up on their times as each of the classes have 10 minutes to go and put in their fastest lap time. However, there is 4 minutes and 19 seconds left for our gold, so you have got to really make it work out in your favor. Ulrich de Jager currently sits with a 135.2 as the slowest time. Everyone else sitting with the 134s at current, barring the top 3 that managed to break into the 133s. Ronald Priggs right onto the back of a rule jar, now trying to see if he can get by. He just backs off. This is going to throw his lap away, but he wants to try and give himself a little bit of fresh room to go for a push lap next time by. Diego up 0.2 on his lap time. Christian Finger, Matt Gale, and Christoph Rolotsky, along with Ulrich de Jager now, managing to go up 0.2. But Matos has got a good run here, 0.5 up on his lap. The 134 might come crashing down to a 133 as he comes across the line, and he does into second place with a 133.902. Real Jaws 133.907 getting kicked to the curb. And take a look at Christian Fingler coming across with a 133.8 as he stomped his way around. Real Jaw fires back with a 133.850, and he is just making dead sure to hold on to that second place spot of our gold division at current. Finn van Holland looking to try and make it work out for the Windrush Racing team, who's been really going and elevating their game. They've been trying to push out a little bit harder. And Finn van Holland also one of those drivers that has been improving season after season. And it seems like he's starting to find his feet here in the gold division, hoping to land himself out on the podium. Christoph Rolotsky keeping consistent for the Los Pantos Hermanos team. And I still got to say, that neon blue just absolutely shines on that Los Pantos Hermanos car. And I've got to say, it really stands out. I've got a little bit of Tron vibes from that. Let's see, if they had a sister car, it would be red. No, it would be the white colors from the original Tron. Would it be the Ritualtron? Yes, it would. It would be the Mastermind. All right, Finn Fanon, Lewis Knight, Christoph Rolotsky, and Ulrich Diaga all getting up on their lap times. But Foster's currently out on the circuit, matching his sectors. Ronald Priggs looks to try and go that a little bit quicker. Can he get a little bit closer to the 132 mark? He's going to give it a try. He's 0.1 up on his time. He needs to go up a little bit more. He's lost it in the straight. Down to second gear, pushes hard. Is it going to work out? I think, unfortunately, not this time around. He gets a 133.2, a little bit down on his best lap. And he was so hoping to break into that 132 mark, which we will see the drivers start creeping into. We saw him practice a little bit earlier today as the rain started to come down. The drivers were moving up and they got settled in the 132 around for the top of the field. So hoping that's going to work out in his favor. Matt Gale currently sitting in with 0.2 up on his personal best. He has got Christian Finkler busy closing down behind, hoping to try and get a bit closer for that toe. But in that respect, he immediately starts to pick up the spray up against the nose and will be starting to scratch his head on what does he need to do to really stomp his way up, to really move through the field, and how is he going to make it work? Ruljal currently going and pushing as high as he can, brings Ronald Priggs into the mix. Christian Fingler currently 0.1 up as he looks to try and tail the likes of Lewis Knight. That good smile going and really having a great bit of fun out there. Same as he tries to get going. Lewis Knight is in the good smile Lamborghini. And that would be not Finley Gamble. Yeah, that would be the likes of... Was it Diego that was in it? No. In the Nissan GTR is Matt Gale. Yeah, Matt Gale currently in the Nissan GTI comes across the line. He's not able to improve. Real Job comes across the line. He does improve. Gets back into second place with a 133.7. Ronald Priggs says no. He's done for now. And that is the end of the gold qualifying. We're going to be now sending out our silver. This will be our platinums heading out onto the circuit. So you will notice on the borders, red border is our gold division. The silver borders is our platinum. That is essentially the Pro-Am. And then our white borders stand as the Pro division. They will be each looking to try and figure out what's going to work out for them and how hard are they willing to go. Dave Brodsky, Scott Reynolds are a couple of those drivers, along with Chris Wall, looking to make up some time after a podium unexpectedly last time out. Milestone will be joining in for the fight in the Audi R8. Martin Spritzer looks to try and push as well. Ryan Gell, along with Rich Van Eed, Issam Domingo, and David Roth going to be also thinking about their plans and strategies. David Roth, unfortunately, staying in pit lane, so he is not choosing to go out. He's going to wait that little bit more and will be falling down the order. Nico Lawrence, Sebastian Luxon, Lucas Collip, and Aaron Schugel will be trying to figure out how to move forward. I do want to point out, Lucas Collip is going, and one that really took my hat off last race out at Alton Park. And he was one of the drivers that kept going no matter what. And sent a message, was lovely to read. He was actually at a point to wanting to give up, but chose not to. Actually scored rather well and was able to move his way up in the points. So Lucas, looking forward to seeing it again. And hopefully many of the drivers here tonight and many of the teams will work that a little bit harder to keep these cars out on the track. So we're getting a little bit of feedback from pit wall as Ronald Priggs with a 133.187 set the benchmark for our teams to really focus what they can do. That 133.1 nearly landed up with a 132.9. Unfortunately lost out in the final two corners. So definitely rather quick and will be a driver up for contention to be promoted into the Platinum division. And honestly, I think it'll be well worth it. Same as Real Jar has really gone and pulled up his socks and moved his way up through the order. However, bad luck has reigned a couple of times. So, as drivers looking to put a banker time on the board, it's pressure on for our Platinum division to make it work out in their favor. They got 10 minutes for their qualifying, 7 minutes left in this run. And it's going to be all eyes to the front. So Dave Brodsky for the Cyber Racing team will look to try and see what they can do to get this car on the board. How high up are they going to be? A little bit of a touch on the brakes just to bring that nose in and pointed, looking rather clean as he drives to the line. Does go up into second place with a 1:33.5 on his first banker lap. Skurt Reynolds looked to come across the line and invalidated his lap time. So not going in and really improving. He managed to get to a 1:35.0, but when he was looking to get a little bit quicker, unfortunately, didn't quite turn out to be the fact. So, Ryan Gell puts himself at the top of the heap, a 1:32.6 in the Red Bull Racing Porsche Chrome car. Ryan Gell hopes to stand above all. Currently leads out against Ronald Priggs, and David Brodsky will line up with a real jar at the moment. Miles Stone out there in the Audi R8, a car that's not commonly used, now looks to try and get a little bit more pace underneath him. He does wait for the rest of the field to come on by, so there's a little bit of fresh air to play with before he gets going, or this might be a tow for him. Sebastian Luxert for the mental health reminder car, looking to keep it all together for himself as he navigates his way around the circuit, hoping to push that little bit more. Nico Lawrence, 0.1 up on his lap time. Isam Domingo, after a great run, now looks to try and make himself that little bit further up the order and get a bit out there for the Project Vapor team. He's getting chased down by fellow Project Vapor driver Richard Van Heed, who is giving it everything he can. And this is interesting for Richard Van Heed, is he's a driver that wants to get into a fight. He loves these conditions. He loves to battle out side by side. However, he's in for a little bit of hard work with that 1:34.3 set as his fastest lap time, and still not quite in the pack where he wants to be to get that little bit further up. Lucas Collep going to be coming across the line. Does a 1:34.3, but unfortunately was an invalidated lap, so it didn't count. Same as Aaron Shergill, who on his previous lap was 1:45. This might be a little bit better. And he does with a 1:34.3. Moves up into 19th position. So a proper run for the Nissan GTR for Aaron, the Cyber Racing team, looking to climb their way up the order. And now we're starting to have a mix of colours here. Ryan and Ronald Priggs currently hold the top of the rows. However, David Brodsky looking to try and close down the distance along with Skurt Reynolds. Isam Domingo currently 0.2 up on his lap time along with Sebastian Luxon. A little bit further down, up 0.1. Milestone trying to hammer his way through in the Audi R8 as he guns up towards turn 3. Hard on the brakes for the right hand as he sees one of the track dual team cars just up ahead of him. And that is going to be Nico Lawrence. That is going to be smiling on his ear to ear. And Chris Wall, hoping to make it work out in his favor, continues to push that a little bit harder to see if it's going to work out in his favor. Currently, Ryan Gell, though, on a rocket ship. 0.3 up on his best lap time. The 1:32.6 looks like it's about to become a 1:32.1 if he can carry it through here out of the final corner onto the gas and across the line. He manages to set 1:32.2 as he comes across, nearly a second quicker than Ronald Priggs. David Brodsky still trying to figure out where can he find the grip. Sebastian Lucasen is also hunting for any grip out there, but a 1:32.2 has definitely gone and raised the eyebrows of even our Diamond Division drivers who went waltzing up to pit wall just to double check for their own eyes of what on earth that pace came out of. So with 2 minutes left on the board for our Platinum drivers, who is going to have the run here? Who's going to be able to move forward? And who is going to really give it everything they got as our drivers push that little bit harder to see where they will come in the mix? It is going to be a tough time out there for Nico Lawrence. Martin Spritzer continues on the charge to really reel in the pace. Chris Wall, 0.2 up on his time. Sebastian Luxon, 0.1 up on his time. Nico Lawrence, 0.2 up on his lap time. Those are the only drivers that are really able to push that little bit harder into the closing stage for their qualifying. And Sebastian runs out a little bit wide, loses a little bit of time, gets back onto the throttle nice and early, out the final corner. David Brodsky up into third, Scoot Reynolds in fourth, and here comes Sebastian Lucasen to jump himself up into fourth place. Scoot Reynolds down into fifth. SM Domingo still hunting for time. Chris Wall out there, really guns it, heading towards the line. 0.1 up on his lap time. Is this going to work for him as he comes across the line? He bumps himself up into 8th at the moment, ahead of Christian Fingler. Lucas Collab trying to give it everything he's got with 1 minute and 30 left of qualifying. It is desperation for our platinum drivers to really see what they can do. Unfortunately, for likes of Simon Kusat, David Roth, they have not gone out to do a lap time. David Young also in the very bottom of the ladder will be scratching his head on what can be done. So all eyes lead out to the front pack. David Brodsky trying to complete his fastest lap as he's 0.1 up. Scoot Reynolds 0.1 up on his time as well, as Ronald Priggs still holds on to that second place. Will he be bumped down? Will that 133.1 be beat by any other driver getting into the same pace as Ryan Gell with that 132.2? Well, we're going to have to find out as they come across the line. David Brodsky is going to be the first one to come across the line. He's going unable to improve. Scoot Reynolds is going to be the next one to follow through. No improvement on his side. Sebastian Lucasen out there in fourth place. Can he move himself up? And unfortunately not to be the case. Nico Lawrence to come on by, 0.3 up on his time. He moves into 8th. Great movement for him. And now Lucas Collab comes across. He's going to also improve his lap time, but not able to really make it work out in his favor. So Lucas Collab will be sitting at 21st position. Martin Spritzer down in 18th, hoping to really make it work out here as SM Domingo pulls into pit lane. Martin Spritzer brings it out wide, keeping it together. This is one more corner. Can he get into that top 10? He guns it, he pushes, he fights, he claws, and he does come across the line with a 134.040. Unable to go up into the top 10, but does improve on his personal best as drivers now get to see our Diamond Division out onto the circuit. And this is where the pressure comes down. Our Diamond Division needs to take a look. A 132.2 to beat for Sean Skitter, Christoph Peterson, Carl Heinz, Andre Sorodio, Ernest Lindbergs, along with Stephen Milano James and Mahayath Musa looking to put their time on the board. So, a bit of a smaller field on our Diamond Division, going and looking to push it a little bit harder. Mahayath Musa going into a bit of a tribute color for his car. This is to throw back to each of the seasons of ACC that he has raced in Project Vapor, a color for each season that he raced, and this tribute livery is thrown back to the ages, and it dates back, I would say, a modification of the early 2020, 2021 colors he was racing with, not only in ACC, but in the world of R Factor 2 as well. Cole Heinz out there in the Cyber Racing, the beautiful luminous green, going and showing off an incredible job. Now looks to try and see what their banker laps are going to come out as. Christoph Peterson has to keep an eye on Ernest Lindbergs as 1 point separates both of them for the championship. So, as our drivers navigate their way through, it's all eyes to Christoph Peterson, who will be the first to cross the line in for a fight at the moment, trying to make it work for the little Honda. A 132.2 to beat. It won't be on his first lap. He'll have to really make it work for the second. But the question is, can he make it? Can he push that little bit harder? Can he really dig deep enough into the pockets to try and pull out a time to match that? Because the rest of the field all sit in the 133s. And I mean from 133.0 to 133.9. That is all within a second from second place down to 17th position. So you really have to dig in deep to try and get out of that fight. Sean Skitter going off circuit. Christoph Peterson puts a time on the board, and a 132.6 is what he's able to set on his first banker lap. Karl Heinz moves up into 23rd position with a 134.2. Ernest Lindbergs comes across the line with a invalidated 133.1, and he will be trying to get that grip a little bit more as the drivers now starting to make it work out. Mahath Musa up into 11th, Sorodio up into 13th position as they keep going on. Andre Sorodio, also a driver that went into the world of R-Factor 2 racing in a BMW in 2021-2022 for a virtual GT, which was run by one of real-life organizations, and also sporting similar colors to what he drove in that series as well. So good to see a bit of a throwback for the Project Vapor team to start pulling those cars, types, colors, and schemes out of the woodwork. Stephen Milano James sits in 20th position. Karl Heinz down in 25th. Sean Skitter, Ernest Lindbergs, David Roth going and rounding out towards the bottom along with David Young. But it is going to be Skitter and Lindbergs that are needing to really put a time on the board to match Peterson, who looks to try get a little bit more rapid, 0.1 up on his lap time. He's got to really dig deep to try and match that 132.2 set by the Porsche as he comes across the line with a 132.5. An improvement, but not exactly what he needs it to be. He will have to wait a little bit longer now as we have got a couple of cars coming through. This is Ernest Lindbergs. He darts up into third place with a 132.7. Mahath Musa hoping to come and fire back as well as he will be booted across the line and sets a 133.7. He was unable to improve on that one, but Stephen Milano James did a phenomenal job of a 133.3 and really stopped his name up into 8th ahead of Sean Skitter, who was able to do a 133.455. So finally got a time on the board that worked out in his favor. So, drivers hoping to push themselves that little bit more to really fight it out. It is currently Mahath Musa, 0.1 up on his time. Sean Skitter, Stephen Milano James, and Karl Heinz currently up on their time. But it's Ryan Gell's 132.2 that still holds station for the Platinums and will be looking to start on pole position ahead of multi-time champion Christoph Peterson, ahead of Ernest Lindbergs and Sebastian Lukeson, who sit a little bit further down from him. Sebastian going to be running second in the Platinum division, will be lining up right next door to fellow Diamond driver of Ernest Lindbergs. As Ernest Lindbergs pulls off circuit, he is not going to get that one sorted out as we are waiting for a couple of drivers to really make it work. Mahath Musa going to be the next one to come across the line, pushing as hard as he can to make it work. He runs out a little bit wide, loses time. That would have been 0.2 up on his time. He is in the 133.8, not able to get the 133.70 set on the previous lap, and will have to wait that little bit more. And Stephen Milano James right behind him did a 133.4, also lost out that little bit of time. 3 minutes and 10 seconds left to go. The racing is hard, on for the charge as we get ready to fight out around a very, very wet Nürburgring here for round 3 of the ERA Sunday Championship, with some of the best drivers in the world around nearly every single continent represented here at ERA to go and fight out for the championships. And honestly, I'm really looking forward to seeing who's going to be able to get the advantage here in the rain, because many we're worrying about, since it's a very high-speed circuit, if the rain is going to play into the favor of those that have got, well, cars that don't really handle so well in the heat, much like the Honda NSX that lands up cooking its tires. Mahath Musa trying to really get the hammer down, currently 0.3 up on his time. Is it going to be enough as we jump on board? He enters the right-hand in third gear, carries a lot of pace down, goes up into fourth for a brief moment, down into third, puts the hammer down again. Is this going to be enough for him? Up into fourth, heading towards fifth gear, and he does jump up the order into eighth. He's happy on that one. He's brought Stephen Milano James up into ninth as well, so they are not split from their fight. As they fall down, as Sean Skitter gets a time on the board, Cole Heinz as well, so 7th and 5th coming into play here, as Cole Heinz, Sean Skitter dig in deep and really try and claw their way through. Andre Terodio comes across the line, last lap time of 134.030. That was also down on where he needs to be. He did a 133.7, but is now trailing multiple cars behind his own class and will be going and clawing for every second to try and bring that back up. Maith Musa calling it quits, going back into pit lane. He will be towed by our friendly marshals out there who are braving the storms here at Redbull Ring. Sean Skitter and Stephen Milano James look to carry their way around. Both currently 0.1 up on their lap time. Sean Skitter trying to carry as much momentum as he can, as it is the 99er Cole Heights who comes across the line. No improvement on his last lap. Was able to do a 133.6 on that one. Not quite that 133.1 he set previously. Sean Skitter trying to give it everything he's got. But here is Stephen Milano James from 10th position. Is it going to be a climb? Unfortunately, not the case with a 133.5. And here comes Sean Skitter. He will improve with a 133.0 up into 5th place, kicking Cole Heights a little bit further down the rungs of the ladder. Andre Sorodio going to try and give it everything he's got to dig that little bit deeper. Runs out wide. Currently loses out the time and will not be going and improving past the 133.70 set earlier on in this qualifying as the call comes to a close. If you're not up on your time, most of the drivers will start to look back towards pit lane. Cole Heights fights between 0.1, 0.2 of a second. Looks to dig that little bit deeper. Is it going to work out in his favor to move out of 6th place and to move into the fight, into the top 5? A 133.0 to beat. 0.1 up. Will be able to jump his way through the order as he goes hard on the brakes, brings it in through the right-hander, lets the car drift up wide. Ooh, a little bit of a snappy rear underneath him. That's going to cost him time, and off circuit he goes. That is it. Done, dusted, game over. And unfortunately, will not be improving out of 6th position. So, as our drivers get ready to rock and roll, we're going to be heading off to our race and start getting people ready for their formations here at Redbull Ring. And it's going to be a rather exciting time for every single one of our drivers. So, with a race 1 hour in length, mandatory pit stop for everyone, rainy conditions, multiple ties in for points. So let's go through it once again. For our gold division, it is Rule Jar on 19 points, Diego Matos on 18, Ulrich Diaga on 16, followed by Fiddly Gamble, who matches that 3rd place. Matt Gale on 14, Ronald Priggs sits on 14 points. He will be quite happy to have his way a little bit up in the order. Van Holland lies down at 7th, Lewis Knight, Christopher Lotsky, and Christian Fingler round out our top 10 for our gold. Looking at our platinum division, and we have got Ryan Gell on 20 points, Issam Domingo, David Roschke, followed by Chris Wall, Paul Scaverius, Daniel Mutzma, Miles Stone, Simon Kusset, David Roth, Morten Spritzer rounds out our top 10 of our platinums. You can see how tight it is in the points for every single one of these drivers. And lastly, looking back to our diamonds, it is Christoph Peterson who leads by a single point due to the fastest lap time. And he's got 2nd place. Ernest Lindbergh, Darius Following in third place, Mythe, Musa, Cole Height, Stephen Milano, James Andres, Rodeo, Sean Skitter, Jason Farmer, and Red Heidecker going and rounding out as the drivers get alerted. It's wet conditions out there. Make sure you've got the correct tires. Make sure you got your setup all done and dusted and ready for all the racing action coming up next as our drivers start to get themselves ready for action here at ERA for the Sunday Championship. As tension builds here on the beautiful circuit of Red Bull Ring. It is going to be a tough time for drivers, and with these rainy conditions, we take our hats off to you, the spectators, that make this all possible. We take our hats off to the drivers and teams and our marshals, race admin, all that are braving these harsh conditions here at the Red Bull Ring for round 3 of the ERA Sunday Championship. Drivers getting ready to go. They go through their final starting procedures, making sure cars are set up, tires are correct, pressures are correct, go through their final bits of fuel calculations, finishing up their cup of coffee, getting ready to rock and roll. As we got nearly every single driver, we've got some of the best drivers from the rest around the world, nearly every single driver going and representing each of the different countries in the world, and they're looking to make it work out in their favor. However, this is going to be a hard fight. This is going to be a challenging one, and it's going to be a fun season nonetheless. That being said, folks, here at ERA, we are in for a Christmas wish for ourselves as well, and this is where we challenge you, the viewers, and the people out in the virtual grandstands, to go and enjoy and join us as our Christmas goal here in ERA, and a personal one for me as well, is we want to reach the channel to 500 subscribers. You heard me, 500 subscribers. It might sound a lot, but we up to 330 subscribers at current here at ERA, and we wanting to improve it. We are wanting to get up to that 500 subscriber mark before the end of the year, and we can only get it done by you, the viewers, to make it all happen. So please share the stream out, show off the drivers and teams, show off your spirit, and help us reach our goal for 2025. That being said, let's take a look at our grid and our starting order here at ERA Sunday Championship round 3 at Red Bull Ring. It is going to be a platinum driver on the top of the pecking order. It's Ryan Gell, head of Christoph Peterson, sitting in third place, Ernest Lindbergs, followed by Sebastian Lucasen. On the third row, it's Sean Skitter along with Cole Heinz. Ronald Briggs sits in 7th with David Roschke in 8th. Mythe Musa holds on to 9th position with Stephen Milano James in 10th. Scott Reynolds along with Rule Gel currently hold on to 11th and 12th, followed by Essam Domingo, Nico Lawrence, Chris Wall, Christian Fingler, Andre Sorodio, Aaron Shergill, along with Milestone, Diego Matos, Finn Van Holland, Finley Gamble, Matt Gale, Richard Van Heed, along with Martin Switzer, Lewis Knight, Christoph Rolotsky, Lucas Collum, Ulrich Diaga, Simon Kussak, David Roth, and David Young round out our 32-car grid here today in a very, very wet circuit, in a very, very fun race, and in one of the best series in the world. It is the ERA Sunday Championship, and we're about to see a brawl between the up-and-comer Ryan Gell up against Christoph Peterson as they both lock on to the front row and look to make it happen for one another. Lining themselves up is going to go side by side. Our drivers will back it off to 70 kilometers an hour and watch towards the lights. They will watch towards Jim, who will hold on to the button, wait to release this absolute beast of a train of some of the best drivers in the world. And we are about to see a battle of note. Ryan from the Platinum Division against Christoph Peterson on the front row as they round the final corner for the last time They will take that deep breath. They will look towards, and when we get going, it's lights on, lights on, lights on. As we wait. Lights off and away we go racing. Ryan Gell getting the jump off a line. Christoph Peterson trying to keep his nose in for turn 1. Ernest Lindbergh gets cut off by the mark as Christoph hits the brakes. Ryan goes off circuit, and take a look at Ernest Lindbergh. He tries to keep his foot completely in it. David Boschke also trying to get a little bit of momentum. There is a bit of carnage behind as quite a few drivers are just door to door into turn 1. Cold tires, cold brakes. And it is hard braking as they launch their way through. Everyone trying to fight side by side. Oh, that's a bit of a problem as one of the track tool team, both of them, and Stephen Milano James getting tangled up in a bit of a mess into turn 3. And that unfortunately has thrown quite a spanner in the works for quite a few drivers. And as they tiptoe through, let's try and take a look from our helicam. And this is Simon Kussat. He has a little bit of contact, and there was just all going wrong from there. Everyone just getting tapped around and landing up in a world of hurt as they launched their way off a line. Unfortunately, just progressively got worse and worse from there for quite a few drivers. Lucas Koller being one of the drivers that managed to break away from that little bit unfortunate, but now we'll need to see how it works out in his favor. Ryan Gell down into 4th position as he falls behind Short Skitz. He's got Cole Heinz and Sebastian Luxon keeping on the back of him for a bit of company as we get our first lap under green done and dusted, and looking to try and get the momentum back in. Sebastian looks for the inside line, late to the brakes, does get the launch in. Can he make it stick? Unfortunately not. Cole goes and says thank you very much for that. He carries the run through. Ronald Priggs also trying to get to grips with the car. He's side by side with Mahath Musa as Musa makes it close on by and continues on the charge. So, let's talk about something that I think everyone's got a question on their mind. The 15, the 10, the 5. Why have we got penalties issued out before the start of the race? Well, that is called success penalties for our drivers, and it is based on where you finished on the last one. If you came first, you got 15 seconds. If you came second, you got 10 seconds. And if you came third, well, you're a little bit further from there. As we see, Nico Lawrence lost it, and he caught his own mate, Lucas Collab, who has tried to just get himself all sorted out. Does have his own team, has the track tool team get by, and they are teammates to one another, Lucas Collab and the likes of Nico Lawrence. They're not racing under the same team here, but they do usually race in endurance racing together. So, 15 means that you got first place, 10 means you got second, and 5 means that you got third. And that is success penalties to try and bring the grid a little bit closer to one another, and they're able to try and put a little bit of a spin in your race. Great stuff to see drivers have to contend with, and will have to think a little bit out of the box. However, Ulrich de Jager coming out of pit lane has completed his pit stop early, and Finley Gamble, who was part of that earlier contact, waits in pit lane. Quite a few drivers that went to that and a bit of a scuffle on their noses now need to try and figure out their bit of momentum after the start of the race. Rule Jar a little bit further down in 10th position. He's got Isam Domingo and David Borski, the Cyber Racing team, closing up at a rate of knots. All the drivers trying to figure out what is the game plan here. How hard can they push to make it work out in their favor? Where do they need to try and dig that little bit deeper to carry the momentum? So every single one of the teams now focus on the charge. Lucas Collab getting a little bit closer to Diego Matas, who looks on the inside. Oh, a little bit of an unsure moment there under braking. And Lucas says, okay, thanks for that. Now I'm going to sit right on your bumper and try and force you into a mistake after that little bit of a light tap against my nose. Now it's time for the big long nose of the Mercedes to dive up on the inside. Lucas gets it all hooked in. Diego drops a little bit further down. Simon Kussat also looked towards the inside. He came off the throttle, not wanting to be caught out in the mess, and will have to wait just that little bit more. Diego now thinking, what is the big plan here for him? And down a little bit behind them, David Roth has got Lewis Light, Mon Spritzer all onto the back of one another. as we do head up through the field. Christoph Peterson does set the fastest lap time of the race, but it is going to be Ryan Gell onto the back of Short Skitter, and fastest lap time gets beaten out by Ernest Lindbergs. Remember, the fastest lap means that you get 1 extra point to fight it out. For Lindbergs, this is aces. This is perfect. This is what he needs to keep that fastest lap time of 1:32.6 that he just set. Ryan trying to carve his way back in for the fight. Currently leads out the Platinum Division. Smasher Luxon currently second in the Platinum Division. And Scott Reynolds holds on to third. Christoph Peterson, Ernest Lindbergs and Sean Skitter run first, second and third consecutively. And now Ronald Priggs ahead of Arul Jar and Christian Fingler currently hold on to first, second and third. But Christian Fingler with that massive 45 seconds. That is a steward's decision after a penalty last race. Is now going to cost him severely. So Finn Van Holland, who sits in 16th, has got a lot more to work with on his run through. So, as we keep an eye on Isam Domingo and Arul Jar continue to work with one another as they wait to run the clock a little bit further into this race. We are expecting the drivers roughly to come in towards the last 20 minutes of the race. Reasoning is, you don't need to change tyres in these conditions. You can push a little bit harder. Tyres are cooling down, the track is not so abrasive, you can keep on the same set, which means that 30-second pit stop that you were aiming for starts to fade away. And there is Short Skitter off into the dirt, outbraked himself, releases Ryan Gell, Cole Heights, Sebastian Luxon, and Mahiath Musa. Here comes Ronald Priggs, who looks to try and get on by, and it is going to be a little bit of a block coming in for Short Skitter. He does run out a bit wide over the anti-cut curb. That has cost him a bit of time as Priggs looks to try and sweep around, as there is a solid defense coming in for Short Skitter. He wants to hold the inside line. He's going to try move to the middle, put on a bit of a squeeze late on the brakes. Ronald Priggs goes and sees it coming, lines himself up, tries to get on the power early, loses out at both Short Skitter and him going and having that little bit of turbo lag allowed for Scott Reynolds to close in. Arul Jar has got Isam Domingo all over the back of him, trying to hunt down and figure where they can get it all working out in their favor as they fight on here at Red Bull Ring for round 3 of the championship. And we did see Christian Fingler losing a little bit of time to Andre Sorodio, but that being said, Sorodio is in the pro class, so he's not losing on well, he's not losing class position, but he is losing on-track position, which he desperately needs with that 45-second deficit. Now he's got Finn Holland all onto the back of him, and he is bringing in for a bit of fun the likes of Aaron Shergill, who looks to try and close up the distance. Lucas Collab going on to his endurance teammate, Nico Lawrence, ahead of him. The ERA Racing team fighting out against the Track Tool team. Simon Kursat fights on to hold back Christoph Rolotsky on Los Pantos Hermanos. Matt Gale onto the back of Martin Spritzer just ahead of him. And we do have our first retirement, unfortunately, out of the race. And that looks to be Finley Gamble out of the race and saying he's done and dusted. So that is, we had 32 cars start. We're down to 30. Ulrich Diaga, the last of the runners, and take my hats off to him, is still circulating, giving it everything he's got. Side-by-side moment coming in, Nico Lawrence and Lucas Collab as they give it everything they've got. A little bit in the background there with Christopher Rolotsky and David Roth also fighting each other, and Diego Matos and Martin Spritzer continue to keep each other busy as Nico stuck on the outside. Lucas Collab has got the inside line. It's going to be a twist round. Who's got the power? Simon Kusak gets in. He gives a little bit of a push onto the back of the Merc to see if he could get a bump draft to work out in his favor. It did not help. Lucas Collab puts his nose right in, breaks a bit early. Here comes Simon Kutzet. Simon's going to see if he can make it work. Sticks it on the inside. The Bentley puts on the power. Mercedes stuck on the outside. Simon runs him out wide. Lucas going side by side. Hopes to try and hold on that little bit more, but it is going to be Lucas with the advantage into the left-hander. Simon looking to still keep his nose in. Unfortunately, just couldn't quite get the drive to work out in his favor. Cole Heights puts pressure onto Ryan Gell as they chase on. Ulrich Diaga has got the blue flag. He's not allowed to fight. He runs in a bit deep into turn 1. Last both cars come through. Ryan was hoping that he would get off the racing line. Cole however, boxed him in and said, nope, this ain't gonna happen, buddy. I'm gonna keep you busy, and you're gonna think about it. Sebastian Luxon's gonna see Ulrich Dialga behind. Musa is gonna see it as well, and think, what can he do to make it work out in his favor? Late to the brakes, looks for the up and under as Cole Heights try to get on the power a little bit early on the Porsche. However, just could not get the run on that Boxer motor, that Boxer 6. And Musa with his in-line, the straight 6 turbocharge, keeps the pressure on to the Aston Martin. That beautiful V8 rumbles on to try and stay ahead, and Sean Skitter in 7th position just waits, hanging on the coattails and biding his opportunity. As our drivers start making their way around, getting a little bit more comfortable. Let's take a look at Ulrich Dialga, the only one that's gone in and out through the pits. So he's done the lap. He's done his pit stop and now trying to see it through to the end. He did a little bit of repair work on the car as well after the earlier contact. And he hopes that it will play out in his favor. Simon Kusat looking for the up and under against the likes of Nico Lawrence. He does get the slide and does get the power down. As they continue on the charge, the 24 not having an easy time out there, as it is going to be a side-by-side, but the Bentley, having the Bentley exit, gets on through and clears. David Roth, see this, now looking to try and capitalize at the moment as he continues on his drive. Everyone looking for any sort of mistake to move up through the order. See where it's going to come out in their favor. Aaron Shergill against Finn van Holland as they continue out, and now Finn van Holland is in a bit of a precarious spot here. Does he fight against Aaron as he tries to? He's going to hold the inside line, and here comes Aaron around the outside, and that Nissan just could not slow down in time. Can he get on the power ahead of it? Well, he's going to give it everything he's got, as Richard Van Heed right there in for the mix as well. So Gray see some hard course of fighting. Is that Aaron Shergill though? No, that's not. That might be a little further down. Is that Matt Gold, the 24? It's not Matt. So it's not Matt that's in that Nissan GTR. So it is the likes of Aaron who's in that Nissan GTR. We just wait for the little bit of a update to come in with where they are on our timing board. But Aaron not going and having a good time. He is now in the mix with Richard Van Heed as he continues on. Ernest Lindbergs takes away Christoph Peterson's lap time because Christoph did a 132.375. Ernest Lindberg sits in with a 132.360. That little bit of a smile moment of, hey, listen, I'm just going to keep taking that fastest lap time away from you, but I'm going to make life a lot more difficult as we take a look at Chris Wall and jump on board the rear wing of the Aston Martin. SM Domingo in for the mix. He's got David Broski and Rule Jar right behind him, and Andre Sorodio in for the mix as well. And this train is getting a little bit more wild. You can see the spray getting kicked off the likes of a Rule Jar's Ferrari, as it is Andre Sorodio looking left, looks right, can't see a pass. We'll have to wait for an opportune moment as he's going to go late on the brakes. Goes in for the send. Can he make it work? Up on the inside. Gets onto the power. Comes across the nose. Rule Jar loses out. And it does look like David Broski lost out the drive as well. And that has brought Sorodio and Jar back into the fray and looking a lot closer for the fight. All fighting for class position. All fighting for maximizing points. As 46 minutes remain, we did think that at 20 minutes, most of these cars will be diving into the pits because these tyres aren't getting worn. The longer you can sit in the train, the better it will go. Christoph Peterson with a 132.360 matches the time of Ernest Lindberg's, and that is a telling one to go and match your times. Oh, we are getting reports though. Sebastian Lukeson dives into pit lane. Lukeson out of the top 10, gets into pit lane for a bit of work on his car. And Rich Van Heed, unfortunately, gets all out of shape. He's off into the weeds. And the 131 not having a fun time out there in the final corner. What happened to Rich Van Heed? In through the first right. All looking okay. Over the rumble strips, brakes, and the rear just says no thank you. I'm not going to live with that. Gets a snap as he tries to recover it and spun round. Look to rejoin the circuit a little bit further through. Andre Sorodio having a fight with David Broschke, gets a pass done and dusted. He joins his teammate Issam Domingo as the two Project Vapor cars. They will now look to try and run ahead and stay in the mix. Sebastian Luxon in the pits. Ulrich Diaga's done his pit stop. Lucas Collin, who went into pit lane and had a vast amount of repair done to his car, and he will look to try and get going a bit more. So far, 2 drivers have completed their pit stops. Sebastian Luxon will make it 3. Is it going to be the one to go for, as we do see Aaron looks on the inside of Finn Van Holland? Can't quite get the momentum running under his favor. Needs to dig in a little bit deeper. Try and figure out what is going to be the right race right now. Who's going to be able to claw their way in for the fight. As Aaron gets the run on the Porsche out of the final corner. This is where the GTR, that twin turbo kicks in. He's able to straight line Finn Van Holland. Comes across the nose to put the pressure on and does get it all done and dusted. Nico Lawrence now into the box as well. So we are getting drivers making their way through, and we also got another retirement as well. Down to 29 cars, which is not what we want to see, but I take my hat off Lucas Collin and Ulrich Diaga. Ulrich, one of the first of the pit stops, gets his car back out on the track. Lucas Collin, who's landed up having smashed his Mercedes, still looks to try and circulate, and this is the one thing you got to do. You got to keep circulating. You got to think about the points, the bigger game here. What can you do to make it work out in your favor? And if you're going to throw in the towel, that's going to be you out of the race. And I really, really do hope that many of the drivers look to try and get those cars back onto the circuit, out of the pit lane, and honestly say, well, crew chief, honestly, you think I should sit this one out? I'm going to choose the latter of that one. I'm going to try and keep my foot in it. Whether I'm first, whether I'm last, I'm going to see it through to the end. That should be the game plan in the pits. And that's what we started to see from Ulrich Diaga and Lucas Collin. And we will be thinking about many of the drivers out there. Nico Lawrence was also involved in the earlier contact as he's trying to get some repair work to his car. Domingo keeps ahead of Sorodio. The two Project Vapor cars running in a bit of formation, flying at the moment. As they look forward to lead, there is Nico Lawrence coming out of pit lane. He just pops up ahead of Christian Figler and allows Christian to get on by. Christian is going to be quite happy on that one, as Nico's not in for the same fight, but now the two can pull each other along. So 3 cars completed, 2 of them in our Platinum, 1 in our Gold division. Beckel and Richard Heed, who are going hammer and tongs at one another, had a little bit of contact with one another. Let's quickly take a look at this. Now, that was behind Richard Heed in that Ferrari 296, the Nissan of Matt. Hopes to try and get the run. Gets it down on the main straight, and Richard, puts a very tight squeeze. And Matt, not wanting to yield at the moment, will put a little bit of elbows out there. He leans back on Richard, saying, hey, if you're going to put your door against me, I'm going to put mine against you. And we got to call it even Stevens on that point. Christoph Peterson puts a fast lap time of the race here with a 132.202. Limburgs with a 132.292. That is so quick. It was right at the end there, but just couldn't get the last little bit. Short Skitter up against Mahayath Musa. Looks to try and push that a little bit harder. Sorodio and David Broschke still continue on their charge. They're looking to make it work out in their favor. Domingo onto trying to get a little bit of run. He loses out behind Ulrich Diaga. Issam Domingo says, okay, I'll lose out to Andre Sorodio. That's not a problem. But David Broschke looks to drag race him. The V8 Mustang gives it everything he's got. Over 470 horsepower unleashed underneath that bonnet as he really sinks it deep in through the corner. A little bit of side by side with Domingo. He doesn't get the pass in, but that got a little bit wild. And Ulrich de Jager going and compromising Domingo, nearly losing 2 positions. He lost out 1 and will be really kicking himself on that. So Rodeo sweeps it, he gets a pass, and now Ulrich de Jager sees Domingo in yet his mirrors. Again, a quick flasher light saying, please, bud, just give me an opportunity here. Ulrich de Jager saying, I'm holding my racing line, I'm following the rules. You got to try and make it past me. I'm not fighting you on this one. But I'm not going to go and throw myself off into the puddles for your benefit. As Issam Domingo and David Broski are going to find it out. Domingo's going to have to really think a bit on this overtake here. Up against Ulrich de Jager. Runs out wide. He gives him plenty of room. He tries to rejoin before the final corner. Domingo goes out wide. David Broski gets the drive on him. There is a big turn of events here. Real Jar says, thank you very much. He clears. Gets away from Christian Finkler, but now David Broski's going to go up on the inside of it. Bingo, he goes for it. Broski gets the pass. Can he get the drive? He does get it hooked in. Domingo loses out that little bit of momentum. He tries to fight back, but now Real Jar joins in for the fray as they fight for 11th, 12th, at 13th position. Real part of the gold division sees these two brawling in the platinum. He's looking to throw his hat in the ring. He goes in deep to try and come around. And it's David Broski who goes and gets a little bit of a nudge from Domingo, who got the drive but just couldn't get the pass to work out. David Broski going to hold the inside line, heading into turn 4. It is hard on the brakes. And Domingo around the outside, looks for the cutback, just could not sweep the nose underneath the likes of David. And Issam will have to wait yet again for another opportunity as he sees Rodeo start to leg it open in front of him. These two are just brawling it out, and the Real Jar says, you know what, I want to join in for this bit of fun. Christian Finkler is going to be going and smiling into here, because this is bringing him a bit closer to fighting for class position as well, because 2nd and 3rd is where they're running in the gold division, and a Real Jar cannot lose any time to Christian Finkler. He needs to keep the momentum going. Issam Domingo runs in a bit tight, tries to keep it all together late on the brakes as he tries to bring it a little bit closer, but a Real all over the back of him does not want to yield. He wants to get this toe to work out in his favor for round 3 of the ERA Sunday Championship. Moves out of that slipstream just to see where the brake markers are, heading into turn 1, gets that absolutely mint through turn 1. And now looks to try and carry his way through. Some great racing there, but we are getting reports. David Young into pit lane. So Lewis Light moves up the order. It is Ulrich de Jager, Nico Lawrence, and Lucas Collab. They have completed their pit stops. David Young's going to be the next one to complete his pit stop. 37 minutes to go, and each of the drivers looking to move their way up through the order. Take a look at this. We talked about fights. Here's Nico Lawrence in for a fight against Ulrich de Jager, who is now looking in his rearview mirror going, oh boy, this is a problem. This is a challenge. And Aaron, who's just ahead of me, trying to catch up to Christian Finkler, is now starting to slow me up a little bit. And I need to think about my game plan here as Finn Van Hollen tries to get the pass. He sees 2 of the back markers now fighting for position and giving it everything they got. But take a look at that. 3rd place, first of the Platinums, Ryan Gell with a 132.187. That is what we saw in qualifying. That is what was first for qualifying, a 132.1. And now we get to see it in a race under full-fledged conditions. This is wild for drivers. David Young leaves pit lane in 26th position. He's going to be looking and just seeing the boards lighting up, saying how on earth are we seeing qualifying times in a race as the rain was coming down harder and harder. Well, a bit of clean air makes the difference. That trying to close up to David Roth as the Cyber Racing and fights against the Fear the Bones driver Audi R8. A real jar, there's up the bingo. Still battle on behind David Roski. They finally managed to clear Ulrich de Jager and saying thank heavens for that one. But now Jar just keeps the pressure on. Christian Finkler keeping his finger on the pulse as it stands to try and fight their way through. They still have those time penalties that they need to do. 15 seconds if you came first in the previous round, 10 if you came second in the previous round, if you came third in the previous round for each of the different classes. Christian Finkler, the only driver to be getting a 45-second due to a race incident that the stewards deemed. And take a look at this. Another fireback, a 132.140. Ernest Lindberg's getting that fastest lap time of the race. And that is ahead of Christoph Peterson's fast lap time of 132.2. And it is going to be an insane run. Trading blows for one another. Ronald Priggs pulls into pit lane. First of our gold division. Looking to get his pit stop done and dusted. David Broschke considered to go into pit lane. He decides he's not going to do it. He does. David Broschke considered it. He thought about it. He went in. So is Aaron Schegel as well into pit lane. Interesting times now coming into play as many of the drivers starting to figure out what is going to be the game plan here, as David Young is the marker for them of when they come out of the pits. Lewis Knight goes into pit lane as well. So we'll see when David Young filters into the mix for our drivers. Earl John tries to go around the outside, could not carry the momentum through. And SM Domingo keeps the pressure, keeps the throttle down. He wants to try and extend a little bit more room to him and try and catch Andre Sirota to get in that toe. That is going to be the main game plan for him, to try and give a little bit more room to get away from Earl John as they try and push on that little bit more. Sean Skitter all over the back of Mahath Musa. Looks to try and get on by, but just can't. Under braking. That Honda just not having the legs on the BMW M4 GT3. And just, you can see the quartering difference there. Mahath Musa getting a little bit of a late quarter exit. He is able to carry the speed, but loses out a lot of ground on his bit of momentum. Aaron coming out of pit lane. We'll see these two, these relative. Let them carry on by, as he will be off the pit limiter as he was climbing up the hill. Still needing to brake incredibly hard for it. Earl Jar keeps pressure on his Domingo. So, currently leading out those that have done their pit stop. David Rochke, Ronald Priggs, Eric Schegel, Lewis Knight, likes of David Young, along with Lewis Knight, Nico Lawrence, Ulrich Diaga, and Lucas Collin are the drivers rounding out those that have completed their pit stops. Diego Matos climbs into the pits. First place in the last round. He's a little bit further down from where he would like to be at the moment. He's got 15 seconds to serve during his pit stop as well, on top of everything. And that is going to be going and eating up into his time. But still, I'm going to give it up to those drivers that are fighting, braving through this absolutely horrendous weather that's being faced. And honestly, I'd give a hat off to these drivers fighting it out, as we do see Simon Kusat going to be trying to get past Ulrich Diaga and keep on the back of Milestone as much as possible. And honestly, it's going to get tighter and tighter. Everyone figuring out what's going to be the game plan here. Mahath Musa and Sean Skitter continue on the drive. Going to be late on the brakes for Musa as he lost out to Sean Skitter. And honestly, it's going to be a wild one. Simon Kusat and Milestone continue to fight it out as Karl-Heinz Rangel pulls into the pits, and Christian Finkler gets into the pits on Spritzer as well. So you can see drivers focusing on a bit of momentum. Continued to figure out the run. Ernest Lindberg's into the pits from the top three. 132.140 was the fastest lap time of the race. He's hoping that's going to work out in his favor. Sean Skitter is going to see it. He's going to continue on the drive, much like Christoph Peterson and Mahath Musa. So this is going to be an interesting one for Limburgs. Is he going to have enough place to work around to get that little bit of momentum? As Peterson carries on the charge. 15 seconds looming over his head. Now, let's take a look at this. Earl Jar's got 15 seconds to play with in the pits, along with Isam Domingo and Christoph Peterson. Now, I know Isam Domingo will be considering a later pit stop. It looks like majority of those that have got for that 15 seconds from our Pro, from our Diamond, Platinum, and our Gold are going to go in that a little bit longer in the race versus the rest. And it's going to be a telling sign of where they come out, where the concerns are, because Rodeo said the pits, Limburg said the pits, Finn van Holland, Milestone, David Roth is going to gain some time, but it is going to be an idea as Richard van Heed is also dives into pit lane. Cole Heights leads out those that have completed all their pit stops, and he just absolutely lunges up into 13th position. He will slot in behind Ernest Limburgs, who now leads out, and he's only just come out of the pits in 12th position. Now, Ernest Limburgs needs to keep this in mind, as he had little time added onto him compared to Christoph Peterson, and has an opportunity to bounce his way up into first place if the gap cannot go and get stretched. Cole Heights, on the other hand, is now looking at a proper run. Skurt Reynolds into pit lane from the top 5. Let's see if Chris Wall's going to join him. No, Chris is going to continue on. Mahath Musa holds on to third. Isam Domingo, Rule Gel, all trying to get that little bit of momentum underneath one another. All dive into the pit lane to serve their stops. That's going to leave Chris Wall with his 10 seconds still to serve. Mahath Musa with his 5 seconds. And Christoph Peterson with his 15. As they all try and pick up the pace. David Roth, Christoph Rolotsky all pull into the pits as well, as it will leave our top 5. Christoph Peterson, Short Skitter, Mahath Musa, Chris Wall, and Matt Gale to carry on the momentum as the last of the drivers still needing to pit in this race. And now it is going to come down to who can carry the momentum forward. Christoph Peterson pulls into the pits. Is Skitter going to do so? Now, we did talk about the 20-minute mark, and I will be the first one to say it. If you gambled on that one, well, I'm sorry. Don't take me to the casino. Don't take me to Vegas. You're going to be hiking your way back home to the city after visiting Vegas with me, because, man, oh man, we've lost everything. Mahath Musa pulls into the pits. Skitter is going to stay out, and he's hoping to get ahead of Christoph Peterson. Interesting call on his part. Chris Wall opts to go into the pits, and I think Matt's going to do exactly the same. He's a little bit further back in the field, but he's also going to be one of those drivers that might just go and leave it. But honestly, a bit of a bold move coming in for Sean Skitter, as he hopes to try and push that little bit forward in the order. And I've got to say, a bit of a risky call here, where you'll be the only driver if Matt doesn't dive into the pits. There's still to go. Well, Matt's going to join him. He's going to run the long run in this race, and he is up into 5th place. He leads out the gold division. Finn van Holland and Ronald Priggs currently sit a little bit closer to one another. And currently, Simon Kusat in the Bentley, who is fighting out for the 12th position overall, and is just out on, he's out in 5th place. 2, 3, 4, 5, yep, he's in 5th place of our Platinum division, but we are getting yellow flags coming in for Skurt Reynolds, who is off into the weeds. Skurt Reynolds drops his way down the order from 3rd of class. He's now 14th, and will be seeing championship hopes becoming a little bit more unfavorable for him, and will be diving towards pit lane. So Reynolds must have picked up some damage. He's not quite happy with that 98 car. Let's quickly take a look at what happened as we go to the helicam, and let's see what entirely went wrong with the car to get him to pull into the pits, because, I mean, he was running oh so well, Oh, there's a little bit of a snap. There's another snap. He slides. He brings it back and snaps again. And no wall. So is this a call for a new set of tire pressures to be put on the car that he wasn't quite happy with? Wiljar currently pushing as high as he can. He's got Christoph Rolotsky. Take a look at Rich Fadid. He's going to tighten up on that inside. Gets right underneath the rear wing of Rolotsky. Trying to make it work around the long side. Rolotsky runs out wide. Wiljar stuck on the inside. Will lose out the momentum. Slots back in. And Rich Fadid tried to close that gap, to force Wiljar to lose out that drive. Unfortunately, just couldn't keep the momentum. Aims for the inside line, couldn't quite get it, works, trying once again, just couldn't get that car slowed down enough to get underneath Wiljar, who was quite happy to hold his position, as now Christoph Rolotsky, in the fight for his life at the moment, has got the likes of Wiljar all over the back of him, and considering they're fighting for third of our gold division as it stands, Richard Van Heed is a little bit out of his fight for the top 3 in his class. Nothing says he can't get involved in the fight with the rest. Matt Gale pulls into pit lane as he gets his stop out of the way, and it's going to be Sean Skitter to continue on the drive. He's going to stretch his legs a little bit more, trying to get past the track tool team, and that is the 212 car, and as he launches on by, it's going to be a good run for him. Matt Gale comes out into 15th position. Christoph Rolotsky loses out to a real jar out of the final corner, but he's going to fire back into turn 1. Couldn't make it work. Here comes Rich Fadid up on the inside. Got the drive. He's going to give it everything he's got. Side by side they go. Heading from 1 down towards 2, which is just a little kick. Absolutely flat out as he aimed for 3. It's going to be hard on the anchors, and Rich Fadid on the bit of a sore point now. Needs to try and come a little bit over. Oh, bit of contact. And that did not work out in the favor as he causes Rolotsky to go off circuit. Roth says thank you very much on that one. There was a bit of elbow contact there, and I'm sure there's express words being said at the moment. Short Skitter also had to go for a lunge pass as he landed up with a bit of contact against 131 car. That is Matt Gale that was ahead of him. Did he try and slot on by? Matt tried to move back to center circuit and didn't quite realize that our leader was hanging in the mix. He does give him a little bit of room, and as they close up on the brakes, there's a little bit of contact, and Short Skitter stays in for the fray. He's able to push that himself a little bit further up the road. So good to see that he is still keeping it going, but when is he going to get to pit lane? 22 minutes of this race remains. He is the only car yet to pull into the pits. Roll Pricks keeps the pressure on Finn Holland at the moment as second and third place of our current gold division hold their way in there. Ernest Lindbergs is currently leading out those that have done all their pit stops. He's ahead of Peterson and still holds the fastest lap time in the race. If he can get a victory here, plus the fastest lap time in the race, he will match what the likes of Peterson did last race, which is then going to tie up the points and make things rather interesting. That is going to take away every advantage away from Christoph Peterson. They will go into round 4 tied in points. Bit of accidents going on. Unfortunately, flags are waving. 213. This is Aaron Shergill coming on by. And what on earth happened to him? And he does see a little bit of carnage. That's Matt Gale into Roth. And it gets twisted up against Audi. And oh man, big impact there against the 474. And that, unfortunately, going and putting to bed a big run. And that was, the 727. Was it the 727? No, that was not the 727 that he had impact with. That was Miles Stone, who was running a little bit further up. There is Miles as he carries on, but he took the huge impact to the door. The 474 car now has Matt Gale looking right behind him in 17th position. Rich Fadid, David Roth, all closing in as well as they charge on for the battle. So, bit of a tough time out there for our drivers and for those that now can't pit. They can't get that repair work. They're going to have to drive through it. Is going to hurt like mad. David Brodsky dives up on the inside of Chris Wall, trying to get that pass. Side by side they go. Chris giving it everything he's got. Loses out second place in the running order, but he's got to try. Hammer it through the two V8s. will continue on their charge. The Cyber Racing on the inside. Logistical Nightmare around the outside. What's going to be better on this one? As it is still Mustang keeping the nose ahead of Chris Wall, and will come out positive on through the corner. Sweeps across the nose. Chris Wall trying to go around the outside. Could not do the sweep back. He's going to try it, and unfortunately loses out that momentum. David Roschke is going to be happy up into second place for the class. 20 minutes to go. Chris Wall continues to hold up for the fight, and now looks to push himself a bit more. But it is Sean Skitter, Innocent Mix, and Cole Heights who currently run first, second, and third of our Diamond Division. Ryan Gell, along with David Roschke and Chris Wall, hold first, second, and third for our Platinum. Vin Phenomenon, Ronald Briggs, and Arul Jar hold on to our top 3 in the Gold Division. They were talking about that. Ronald Briggs closing up the distance to Finn Van Hollen at a rate of knots, under braking, trying everything he can to get underneath that Porsche. And it's going to be a tough one. And all the drivers at the moment, it's going to be an interesting time, because it looked like the overcut worked out in favor for some, but majority was the undercut, and that was due to incidents out on circuit. And none other than, there's a couple of drivers that can point out to that. Likes of Ulrich Diago was an early pit stop, and Lucas Collap, who had a lot of damage on his car, is able to run in 26-27. They ran the earliest of the pit stops, but still keep it all together. Finn Van Hollen loses out to Ronald Briggs, and now it's going to be diving down to 4. Who's going to have the advantage? Late on the brakes as Ronald Briggs holds the inside line, but he is going to understeer out a little bit, has to slow the car right down, and you can see Finn Van Hollen try to go for the underneath, up and under, couldn't get it done, and now has to try and fight his way through yet again. This is turning into a tough time. It is a slide out for Finn Van Hollen at the moment. No one able to improve. No one able to really step their way up through the order. Still tons and tons of racing to go. Miles Stone dealing against the South African Richard Fahey, as Miles, the American, now looks to go and battle it out side by side. The Fear of the Bones driver gets a driver that doesn't fear anything at this point, as Richard sinks it in rather deep on Miles, and that has brought David Roth as his teammate going and looking at him. And this is going to be interesting, as David Roth's going to try and go around the outside. He sweeps back in with a 727 car, which is a lap ahead. If I look at my timing board, no, that's not. David Roth is on the same lap as Miles Stone. So these two teammates are now challenging for their on-track and class positions. David Young trying to see if he can get past likes of Rolotsky. Dallas Pontos Hermanos runs out wide, and it's going to be David Young to get the pass. And take a look, big mistake coming in for Miles Stone as he loses out the drive. Absolutely tremendous stuff from every single one of these drivers, digging deep, trying to figure out what works. David Young defends against Rolotsky. Rolotsky looks for the up and under, couldn't get it worked. Aaron Shergill gets right behind him and now looks to pressure to keep it going that little bit more. David Roschke dealing with Chris Wall on the back of him. This is for second and third in class, and they're right behind Andre Sorodio, who holds on to 6th position in class for our Diamond. Sorodio a little bit slower through the corners, is now boxing David Roschke and Chris Wall in, and this is now becoming a little bit of a problem for Roschke as he wants to get on by as fast as he can, as Chris Wall leans on him more and more, trying to figure out how it's going to work out in his favor. He sinks in a little bit deep into one, can't get the drive as it's just a brick wall ahead of him. And David Roschke keeps the pressure in for the mix, trying to figure out what is going to be the game plan here as he tightens up right underneath that rear wing. David Roschke looks around the outside. Sorodio on the inside line, going to break on the right mark. And it's David Roschke, he's got a bit wide. This is Chris Wall's opportunity. Can he get on the power a little bit early? He's got to give it everything he's got. It's a drag race down to 4. Has he got it? It's going to be slightly ahead, and the Mustang continues on. It's going to be late on the anchors for Roschke if he wants to make this work. David's going to try everything he can. Chris holds the inside line. He really leans on that Mustang. And what on earth happened to Sorodio? He's gone. Serodio is gone. And it looks like Serodio has got a disconnect and is officially out of the race, much to the absolute pain of David Brodsky, who went and got felled up behind him, lost the time, and now Chris Wall has no one to contend with him ahead of him and actually has a bit of clear air to start stretching his legs. Oh my heavens, Serodio out of the race due to a disconnect. And that brings our total to 28 cars remain on a very, very difficult circuit here at the Red Bull Ring for round 3 in the rain. It's raining, it's pouring, and all the drama is falling as we fight for positions up and down through the classes. Christoph Peterson puts the pressure on Cole Hines. If he finishes in second place, he will be able to match points with the likes of Ernest Lindbergs, as they will go in for a tie. Now, if he finishes behind Cole Hines, that is going to hurt him in the championship. It's going to play in the favor of Ernest Lindbergs to step up and really gain that little bit of time. Cole Hines, you got to remember, is also fighting for that championship. He has every right to be there. He has every right to fight and will fight tooth and nail. He will push that a little bit harder. But the question is, who's got more the bite underneath him? Who is wanting it more than the other driver? Who is willing to absolutely throw caution to the wind to ensure that this is going to work out as they now close up to 24th place? Likes of Christian Fingler up ahead, who served his tremendously long pit stop, and due to that penalty, he is still going to see it through to the end, which is always phenomenal to see. And he will now get a mirror full of Cole Hines in that Mustang, and right behind Christoph Peterson, who is in for the fight. Fingler goes out wide. He continues to just lift ever so slightly to allow the drivers to come through. He didn't want to lose out too much time, and Christoph Peterson is going to be not too happy with going and not having the brick wall ahead of Cole Hines to see if maybe he can try and get past. David Brodsky fights on to the back of Chris Wall. Simon Kusa in the Bentley trying to close up 3 seconds to the fighting duo who are fighting for second and third place. Brodsky trying to go for the up and under on the inside as he braked too late. He slows it down to first gear. Chris Wall trying to get the drive underneath him. Couldn't make it work. Brodsky back up into second place. David has got the run. And now Chris Wall has to deal with the momentum. Miles Stone gets fouled up and has David Young and Rolotsky get on by as they continue on the charge. And there is Matos out in the Mustang a little bit further down. He's 28th position, but is trying to stay out of the way of these fighting bunch. Doesn't want to get too involved in it. He wants to try and see where he can go. Rich Fadieda, David Young going and fighting out for position, but it looks like David Roth, looks to get the run on through. So David Roth continues on the drive as we go back up for the final 12 minutes. This is a championship decider in the diamond class as Christoph Peterson, the multiple champion, now starting to feel the pressure. He knows that he's in for a world of hurt, and it is going to be Cole Hines that is absolutely elbows out at the moment. It's elbows, knees, and toes. He is stretching out every bit he can to just keep the likes of the little Honda at bay. The Mustang digs it in a little bit deep. He tries to slow it down. He's got to have the advantage into the left-hander, but he needs to carry the momentum through as it's going to be late on the brakes for both. Into it. Cole Hines keeps the nose forward, and it's going to be Christoph Peterson not able to get the drive. He's going to stick it around the outside. He's going to try and force the pass to happen around the outside. Christoph just gets his nose ahead. Cole tries everything he can. Christoph up into second place. Cole Hines stays in for the chase. Looks to hold the racing line as Christoph tries to get as close as damn it to it, but still tries to keep some form of defense there to hold his position, and now is up into second place with nearly a second adrift from Cole Hines. Going a little bit further down the order, this is 20th and 21st. Miles Stone and David Young, along with Lewis Knight and Nico Lawrence, continue to try and focus on their charge. who is going to have the advantage up and down through the order. But as we head into the last 10 minutes of the race, it's Ernest Lindbergs that currently leads out our Diamond Division, followed by Christoph Peterson, Carl Heinz, who runs in third. Sean Skitter holds on to fourth place with Mahath Musa in fifth for our Platinums. Moving on to our that's our Diamonds. Moving on to our Platinums, fourth place. And first in class is Ryan Gell. He's got David Roschke holding on to second place at the moment with Chris Wall in third. Simon Kussak holds on to that top 5. Moving on to our gold, it's Ronald Priggs and of Finn van Holland in second. Rul Gel keeping ahead of Matt Gale at the moment, who holds on to fourth place. And Christoph Rolotsky holds on to that top 5. Milestone closes off a nose on David Young at the moment. Lewis Knight and Nico Lawrence battle between one another as they push that little bit more. Each trying to figure out what is the game plan here, how can they move forward, and where can they make this work in their favor. Our closest fight is Nico Lawrence, Lewis Knight, David Young, and Miles Stone as it stands. But still, great to see drivers pushing themselves that little bit more in this race, trying to figure out what is the game plan. 32 laps in for our leaders, and I've got to say, hats off. Diego Matos is lap 29 out of 32 and still circulating. He's at the back of the field, but you've got to give it up for the chap with 0 quit, much like Lucas Collins, Scott Reynolds, Ulrich Diaga, all right against the same thing. Oh, Nico Lawrence sends it in a little bit too deep there, and Lewis Knight says thank you. He snatches up that position and has Christoph Peterson. Sorry, that's Ernest Lindbergs slot right in between them beautifully. He doesn't get fouled up. He could still keep the pace. He's got a 5-second gap to Christoph Peterson. But what he needs to make sure is to hold on to that fastest lap time of the race, which is at 1:32.240. Christoph Peterson was a 1:32.447. So, for Lindbergs to come in as a tie for round 4 of the championship next week, he has to make sure that he finishes in first with the fastest lap time of the race. For Christoph Peterson, if he gets the fast lap time of the race, he will carry over that extra point to help him out in the championship. He will carry that extra point to just keep ahead of his fellow teammate and championship rival. And Ernest Lindbergs, back 3 seasons ago, was the closest to taking out Christoph Peterson in a championship. But that being said, Christoph only won last season's championship by 1 point against Ben Hicks. That was due to the fastest lap time of the race, managing to get 100 points to Ben Hicks' 99 points at the end of it. And now it looks like we started to have a repeat of the previous season. So we started to see drivers folding under pressure. Aaron Shergill trying to chase down to Richard van Heed, who holds the inside line and slows that car down as Richard makes his face extremely known here against Aaron. Says, listen buddy, you can see me, I'm looking at you right in the mirrors here, and I will hold on to the 17th position. It will be hook, line, sinker. If you want to try and pass me for class, if you want to get that overtake for on-track position, you're going to have to work for it. Scott Reynolds down in 27th position, keeps on the back of Lucas Collin. Now, Scott Reynolds hasn't had an easy time out there on the circuit as well, and he continues to stick in for the fight. It's great to see that drivers still digging deep, digging right into the pockets there to see it through to the end and see how hard it's going to work. Diego Matos, who is fighting for championship points after getting a victory last round, is down in 28th position. But once again, I want to just highlight the fact, despite being 2 laps down on the rest of the field, he is now just keeping the momentum in his favor. He's going to see it through to the end, and you got to love it. Aaron Shergill around the outside, Rich Fadid on the inside. Ooh, a little bit of no room given there for Richard as he just opened up the steering. And Aaron getting a little bit of side damage coming in for the Ferrari, a 296 of Rich Fadid, who just leaned on him more and more out of the corner. wing mirror to wing mirror. It is just getting a little bit wild for both of them in the last 5 minutes and 34 seconds of this race. Not quite what you want to have, but a massive shout out to you guys out there in the virtual grandstands. Wonderful to have you guys out here, and absolutely incredible for round 3 of the championship, the ERA Sunday Championship here in Evolution Racing Academy. And we look forward towards the end of the year as we aim for our goal of 500 subscribers. 500 of the best subscribers in the world to join us here, and that is our target goal to reach. And now drivers looking to push themselves that little bit deeper in for it all. It is going to be a close championship as it stands. And take a look at Aaron. He goes to the outside. Richard trying to close up that gap. It's turn 1. May have sunk it in a little bit too far into the corner. He's trying to bring himself back. He straightens up the steering. Aaron says, thank you very much. That's exactly what I need to get the straight line on you and get on by. Now, Richard's going to have to fire back with 4 minutes and 34 seconds to go. And Richard's not going to have an easy time here as Aaron has just felt all of it. The dry line starting to form on circuit, getting bigger and bigger for each of these drivers to realize, hang on, now grip's going to start falling off. These tires are going to start taking a bit more of a hammering. What can we do for the last remainder of the 4 minutes? Issam Domingo and Finn Holland, they are within a second of one another. A real jar, Matt Gale, who are fighting out currently for third of the podium in the gold division. Matt trying to close up that distance every step of the way. Real jar says, not gonna happen, buddy. I'm gonna fight you tooth and nail on this one. You're gonna make sure to stay behind me, and I'm gonna push that a little bit further in for the run. It's gonna be a long move up through the order for each of these drivers, and it's gonna be a hard push for every single one of them to make it work out in their favor into the closing stages of the race. Richard Fadid, Aaron Shergill still fight out between one another, and they are not backing down with Richard running off into the dirt. That's going to compromise his drive and losing out that little bit of time. Mergs now coming across 3 minutes and 14 seconds, the longest 3 minutes and 14 seconds he's going to have as he waits to try and clear the traffic. Holds on to the fastest lap time of the race, but all it takes is Christoph Peterson to get that absolute banger of a lap to work in his favor. And to tell you how close it is, Christoph Peterson got it off track, which stopped him from getting the fast lap time of the race, because he set a 132.177, but it was a track limit that took it out. But let's talk about a big one here. Ryan Gell gets a drive-through penalty for track limits exceeded. Ryan Gell, the leader of the Platinums, in the last 2 minutes and 24 seconds, has got a drive-through penalty. David Broschke and Chris Wall will see this. They will know that there is an opportunity to possibly go for first. For Ryan, this is devastating. This is heartbreaking. As he was closing up to Carl Heinz, he has now cost first place in his class. David Broschke, Chris Wall, Simon Kussat, who are all incredibly close to one another, will see this. Finn Holland trying to get the run. Issam Domingo went off circuit, so he loses out the time. Finn Holland trying to close up to Ronald Priggs, doing everything he can for the last remaining 1 minute and 40 seconds. But big talking point here as Broschke makes his way around the circuit. Ryan is into pit lane. Ryan goes through pit lane. Where is the rest of the field? Here comes Skitter to get the position back and put himself 4th place overall and in class. Maith Musa a little far back, and he is trying everything he can. He's behind Lucas Collab at the moment, who has got the battle going on with Skirt Reynolds onto the back of him. And, a real jar, and Matt Gale landed up, contact with one another. And there is Matt getting the position as a real jar goes and loses out the run. Ryan leaves pit exit. Has he got enough room to David Broschke? Sees Mayan Musa. He has got the pass. He will serve the drive-through, save first place, and only just because here is Mayan Musa at 60 seconds back. David Broschke who was just trying his absolute darndest to stay in the mix. And Scott Reynolds up on the inside of Lucas Collab as they fight for the last little one. It is turning into a bit of a wild moment for every single one of our drivers. Check out the side-by-side dive between these two, and it's absolutely tremendous, as it is going to be Scott Reynolds having the advantage. He does sink it in a bit deep. Lucas Collab says thank you very much. He goes for the inside line and gets that pass done and dusted, as it is going to be final lap for our leader, Ernest Limburgs, as he comes across the line. One more lap to go. One more lap of pressure, and it is going to be the likes of Christoph Peterson flashing his lights, saying, please, mind out the way. I've got to try and get this fastest lap time of the race. It's got to work out. Diego Matos goes and clears out of the way. Christoph is pushing as hard as he can to get the fastest lap time of the race. Carl Heinz getting past a Good Smile Racing at the moment, trying to utilize all the power he can against Lewis Knight, but just couldn't get it. Lewis Knight will straight line him. Carl Heinz is lifting. Carl Heinz is badly lifting. Is this what I think it is? Please tell me it's not so. He lifts. Oh my, folks. Carl Heinz is running out of fuel. Carl Heinz is running out of fuel. He's worrying about fuel. Carl Heinz is running out of fuel here. And here comes Sean Skitter. Sean Skitter may be close enough to take third right at the last. He's got to really dig deep on this one for it to work out in his favor. It's going to be a tough fight. Carl Heinz is running out of fuel, and he may just lose third. He didn't plan to go 39 laps in. He did not plan to have 38 laps. And now here comes Sean Skitter up on the inside. He's going to get that pass done. Carl Heinz puts his foot down. He's trying to fight back with every little bit. If it's got a millimeter left, it's going to be it. Ernest Limburgs takes the victory and the fastest lap time of the race. Peterson takes second. Sean Skitter at the last due to a fuel save. Carl Heinz loses third. Skitter takes third place and a podium here at Red Bull Ring. Carl Heinz will finish up in fourth position. Brutally hurts on that one. Ryan Gell will get the victory in the platinum as he finishes in fifth place ahead of Mahath Musa in sixth. Second place goes to David Broschke if he can make it through these last little corners, and Chris Wall is going to have to be content finishing up third in class. Simon Kusat will finish up fourth in class. Ronald Priggs looks to take the victory ahead of Finn van Hollen in the golds, and Issam Domingo gets the run as Martin Spritzer trying to close up the distance between them. These two still fighting for class position, but it looks like Domingo has just got the momentum, and we're getting reports in from Tom O'Malley that Carl Heinz had 0.1 litres left when he crossed the line, and that extra lap shot him in the foot. It cost him third place, and oh, my heart goes out to him. That last lap just became brutal. Matt Gall, real jar, coming across, finishing up in the gold is Matt Gall, who takes that third place in the gold division. Aaron Shergill finishes up as well. What a race. What a dramatic finish we had from all our drivers. And honestly, wow. You couldn't have written a better race if you tried. And we saw some of the fastest action out there. We've seen some of the most dramatic action during the course of it. And honestly, what a race to see. And once again, championship points are up in the air, as each class has just showed off what they can do in the ultimate racing class that they have to be able to fight out for an hour in some incredibly tough conditions here at ERA for the Sunday Championship Round 3, and some real heartbreak coming in for others. With that being said, we've got to be bringing our drivers to come and have a chat to us and give us some inside thoughts on what their race felt like here at Red Bull Ring, and after a really tough time out there by a number of our drivers. I got to take my hat off to them. But, wow. Honestly, wow. That was a wild, wild run. And we do have a couple of drivers to come and have a chat to us. And let's bring in our second place of our gold. Second place of our gold division. Would it be second? No. Roland Priggs took the victory in our gold division. So we're going to bring Roland Priggs in to have a chat to us. Ronald,
hello.
Welcome to the commentary box and got the victory after a hard-fought fight against Finn Van Hollen. How are you feeling after that?
Finally, deserved victory, to be honest.
Well, from having a chat
yeah.
to you last race where you landed up with a car in your door, this time you had a Porsche checking your gearbox. I mean, take us through the race because you and Finn Van Hollen were fighting nose to tail for a long time.
Yeah, we did. And I found a gap where I can pass him, but he was defending like no other driver. It was a nice battle between us.
Take us through the start of the race because that was just mental to take a look at. And it was just a fight up and down through it all. You had to really figure out what to do. You fell out of 7th position, but still managed to hold on to your class position. I mean, that was just racing and a half, and it looked like you had to take every avoiding action that you could.
Yeah, I was keeping it safe because around me there wasn't any gold drivers, so I thought to myself, why should I fight them? I just need to keep my position so nobody rear-end me and ends my race.
Well, it was still a great one to see and taking some real good points for the championship. What's your game plan heading into round 4? As now you've got a 15-second success penalty that's going to be added to your pit stop time heading into Zolder.
I don't know, we will see.
Keeping the cards close to one's chest. Fair enough. If you're part of the Smoking Bandits, you've got to be worried about what is to follow. But with that being said, is there anything you want to say to all our partners here in ERA, to all the drivers and teams out there, to your team as well, and most importantly, to every single one of our amazing petrol heads out here on the grandstands joining us here today?
Yeah, I want to say hi to Skibidi, or Paul Skriveris. He's the biggest fan of me.
Absolutely wonderful to hear. And once again, Ronald Priggs, congratulations on that victory. Well earned.
Thank you. Well, nice.
The absolutely incredible drive coming out of the Honda NSX, and Smoking Bandits really showing what they can do in a tremendous fight. And with that being said, we do have a couple of drivers to go and have a chat to us. One of the drivers was actually fighting for a long time against a certain Mustang, but unfortunately it wasn't to be the fate of the Aston Martin. Let's bring in Chris Wall to come and have a chat to us. Chris, welcome to the commentary box. And last week you said you weren't sure you're going to see me here. This week you're back. You finished in 3rd, but it was a hard fight for you up against David Roschke. We were watching the back and forth you two were having.
Yeah, well, I'm just as surprised as you are, Stephen, and no doubt the people watching. Yeah, the fight with David was interesting. I've just said to him in chat, I saw his pace, saw how long was left in the race, and thought to myself, I'm not going to put too much of a fight up, but I'm not going to give him on a plate either. So when he went for the move, I just left the inside open and tried to switch back just to see if I could get him on the exit. His pace was just too good today. So with my 10-second penalty, I opted not to take tyres just to try and offset some of that. So that saved me a little bit of time. Yeah, I was surprised to be in the running, especially after a bit of someone collected me. Turn 3. So yeah, I'm just as surprised as you. It was a good fight, and I enjoyed that one. It was a bit sweaty.
Well, let's talk about that. You started mid-grid 15th in a total position. You gained 7 positions by the end of the race, but you were also part of the absolute carnage that went on. Take us through what happened in the rain. We just saw cars everywhere, rain everywhere, and bits and pieces of bodywork.
Well, that's kind of all I saw, really. I remember being on the outside, thinking to myself, I should just be able to try and get a reaction if anything does kick off. Typically happens on the inside of that corner. Saw someone spinning round, so I went even wider, and then before I knew it, I got collected and spun round. I don't know what happened. I haven't seen it back, so I have no idea. But yeah, it just looks like it was a bit of a kerfuffle, as is usually the way at Red Bull Ring.
Well, it was still a stunning drive. Now, we do know that Simon Cossatt in that big Bentley was chasing you down. Was there any concern with him? Because he started in 30th, gained 21 positions. He was the highest scoring in terms of gaining the most positions in a run. Was there any concern about that big Bentley becoming a bit of a problem against the Mustang and the Aston Martin?
Oh, 100%, yeah. I mean, we know what Simon's pace is like. He's a very quick driver on a bad day, and obviously he had quite a good day today. So yeah, definitely there was a concern that he was going to arrive at my rear end and in that big old boat be able to do something about it. But fortunately, once me and David sort of settled our spat again, that was sort of the theory behind not fighting David too hard, so that I could sort of follow him around really. As soon as David got a second ahead of me, I started dipping into the 33s again. So that I think that not fighting David too hard enabled me to keep costs up sort of at bay.
So having to think outside the box and working with the competition. This is why we always say here at ERA, you get to learn some things, and even our platinum drivers going and utilizing some fun tricks. Well, before I let you go, Chris, honestly, to enjoy the amazing celebrations coming out in third place, anything you want to say to everyone out there in the virtual grandstands, to all our amazing partners here at ERA, and most importantly, just to all the admins there in the background that's going to have some serious work going and looking through some of these big crashes that have happened in the early stages of the race.
I mean, as always, thanks for the time, effort, put into running these events, stewarding these events, broadcasting these events, everything that goes on behind the scenes, the uncelebrated staff that are behind. We give Fengler a lot of crap, but he does a lot of work, so he deserves a round of applause as well for getting us group of idiots together every week, and most of the time not crashing into each other. But yeah, so no, thank you to you, Stephen, as well. I know you're pushing the subs in the YouTube channel, so it's hopefully we'll get that 500 sooner rather than later.
That is the Christmas goal, the New Year goal. We have to hit that 500 subs, because this channel has been going on for quite a number of years now, and we're wanting to really show off the amazing competition. We do invite those to come join us as well. But Chris Wall, thank you so much for joining us in the commentary box. And you can follow Chris Wall out on YouTube as well. Does a lot of live streaming of his races for some POVs, some interesting conversations, maybe a dad joke or two thrown into the mix as well. Chris, thank you very much for joining us here, and we look forward to you out having a bit of fun with us next week. Chris Wall taking the absolute great run for Logistical Nightmare Racing team. But let's bring in a driver that surprised even our diamonds in qualifying and started in pole position, Ryan Gell, to come and have a chat to us. Ryan, welcome to the commentary box. First of all, how on earth did you set that lap time? A 1:32.1 to hold first place, that even our diamonds were chomping at the bit to find out how you managed to do that.
Yo, what's up? Yeah, I think the main thing was that we had more platinums on track, so the track was a bit drier. So I think that helped me a lot doing the lap, and yeah, just practice. Yeah, but the race pace wasn't quite there yet. I had some issues.
Well, you were still absolutely giving it what you could in the race pace. I mean, you ran a 1:32.6 as your best lap time during the course of the race, but we also did have a bit of a heart and mouth issue, and I think you know exactly what I'm getting at, and that was in the last 5 minutes of the race, the dreaded drive-through coming in for track limits. Did you think that that was it for holding on to the victory in the Platinum division?
Yeah, I wasn't sure about the gap behind me because I had a lot of lapped cars and stuff behind me, so I was a bit scared, but I managed to build up a big enough gap during the race to cover that. So I was just giving the stream a bit of content, you know.
Ah, okay, right. It was all part of the plan. Master plan. Ryan
Yes,
had it
yes.
all sorted out. He had us completely, totally, we completely believe you on that one. But Ryan, you've now gone and raised the eyebrows to the Diamond Division. And this is going to be looking for guys going, well, this might be the next champion coming into our ranks. Do you have anything to say to the Platinum Division that you're racing with now? But more importantly, to the Diamond drivers that have now really raised an eyebrow to see you going and putting in those type of lap times?
Yeah, well, I've been in Diamond before a few seasons ago, but I kind of took a break from sim racing. I came back now. I found the pace again, so yeah, we'll see how it goes if I get promoted to Diamond. I hope it won't be this season though, because I want to finish this season in Plat if that's possible, and then maybe next season go in Diamond and see what I can do there.
Absolutely wonderful. Well, we're looking forward to you going and fighting out. It's going to be a tough championship. It looks like you get a win, you get a victory, and it all looks to be into your favor. But round 4 coming up in Zolder may be a fight of note. Anything you want to say to our amazing sponsors, to our amazing admin team and stewards, and most importantly, to the amazing petrol heads out in the virtual grandstands?
Yeah, obviously, I appreciate all of you guys, admin team, you, Steven, just everyone. I hope to see all of you again next Sunday and put up a good fight.
Absolutely wonderful. Rangel taking the victory home with the Platinums and had us absolutely foxed as that drive-through penalty was completely, that was planned to perfection type of thing. Yeah. Well, with that being said, let's have a chat to our overall winner and class winner of the Diamond, taking the fastest lap of the race with a 132.240. Ernest Lindberg's come and have a chat to us. Ernest, welcome to the commentary box, and what a race to work out in your favor. And hearing that you got the fastest lap time of the race means that you are matching points with your own teammate, Christoph Peterson. How are you feeling?
Yeah, another win for the season. Let's go. Yeah, I'm feeling great.
Now, we do know that you and the likes of Peterson are fighting tooth and nail, nose to tail in the championship. What's your take now that we're heading to round 4 and it's literally blow for blow against one another? And you've got the team element as well. I'm sure that is something that might be put off to one side because, well, there's a driver championship and a team championship, but the team championship kind of works out even if you take the championship win.
Yeah, I mean, we're just gonna keep practicing, keep driving, and when we meet on track, it's. I mean, of course, we are teammates, but on track, it's each for their own. You know, we fight fair, of course, but you know, we fight. We're not letting each other go. If you say.
Absolutely wonderful to hear. And I've just got to lean into that because you were really in for a fight. The traffic turned to be rather interesting in your favor. You having to slot into battles that were happening around you. How was it navigating? Red Bull Ring is already a circuit that it's hard to pass on the straight, but now you're trying to slot in between battles, in between the spray, and not compromise your drive and not get involved in others' battles. How were you taking it out there?
I mean, obviously a lot better than in Alton. Red Bull Ring, even in rain, is a lot wider than Alton. And honestly, I didn't have too many issues with blue flags. Everyone was nice and kind and just let me pass at the first opportunity they could.
Well, it was great to see you out there and fighting it out. Now matching points in the championship. Zolder coming up. What's the game plan for yourself? I mean, this is a circuit that we've seen you do rather well at and push yourself that little bit harder, but now you're going in with a 15-second added on time for your pit stop. what's going through your head for round 4?
This Zolder is the first track that I got my overall win without any successive penalties. So I'm feeling pretty confident. I'm sure the Honda will feel great in Zolder. And about the 15-second penalty, honestly, Peterson also has a 10-second penalty. So while I might not get the win, I'm sure I can get on the podium, and that should be enough to keep things even and keep me in the title fight.
So you just need to be 5 seconds ahead. That's what you're telling me.
I don't think I will be 5 seconds ahead of Peterson, but I should be close enough that other people will be too far behind that I'll still manage a P2 or a P3. We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. Maybe that odd platinum and gold driver can work out in your favor. Well, before I let you go to enjoy the celebration for, well, taking the full score of points for your class, anything you'd like to say to all the admin, to the stewards that are going to be frantic behind the scenes, putting everything together, working through all the work, but to all our partners here at ERA, and most importantly, to the absolute legends of our petrol heads that were going and braving these cold, rainy conditions here at Redbull Ring.
First, I want to congratulate Peterson for getting yet another podium from the 15-second penalty, and I want to say sorry, Heinz, for for you running out of fuel, and well, congrats to Skitty to getting that P3, and then of course I want to thank all the admins and all the viewers for keeping this sport alive and keeping this thing going.
Absolutely wonderful, wonderful stuff. Ernest Lindberg's taking the victory here for the Fear the Bones at Red Bull Ring in the Diamond Division, and honestly, it has been a phenomenal race, drama-filled, as we saw, as mentioned, Karl-Heinz running out of fuel, 0.1 when he crossed the line after fighting to hold on to that third place. Just a little too thirsty on the motor, cost him time, and as we see in the highlights, he also landed up with Stephen Milano, James around, and landed up having to clout on the brakes there, diving into the dirt. It just was a race all over for himself to really try and figure out how it's going to work out in his favor. But with that being said, we're in for a great, great championship, folks, because our gold, platinum, and diamonds are all within earshot of one another. It is open towards the top, and any of our top 10 can take home the gold at the end of the season, the final season for 2025. It is for all the marbles. It's for all the cards as we look forward to round 4 at Zolder, happening on the 9th of November. Next week, we're going to be going and having a bit of fun, and we look forward to seeing you joining us here at ERA for another round of the ERA Sunday Championship. And it is going to be an absolute banger of a championship to see through to the end. We do have our Christmas and New Year's wish to hit that 500 subscriber mark here on the channel that has been around for quite some time. We'd love to go and hit that absolute milestone of note, and we want to see you guys being a part of the show. The only way we can do it is if you hit that subscribe bell icon with the bell notification. Leave a like. Let us know what was your favorite part of the race. Go back and watch our server 2 as well. Some incredible racing happening out there and nail-biting moments as well as we look forward towards round 4 happening on the 9th of November at Zolder. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we'd like to thank you all once again for joining us during the course of this race. My name is Stephen Koenig. Tim was out on the cameras. Jim was out in the rain with the flags and with the lights. Jim, please take your shoes off. You are absolutely pouring water down on our floor here. But, folks, it's been wonderful. It's been great. And like always, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody, from ERA.